My quiet vineyard was about to be bulldozed for a fake community road. Until I discovered the HOA president had secretly deleted one crucial line from our property documents to fill her own pockets. Did she really think she could get away with destroying everything I worked for? Comment below where you're watching from. Your land is being stolen right from under you, the letter warned in big red letters. I dropped my coffee mug, watching it shatter across my kitchen floor. But I couldn't take my eyes off that single sheet of paper. Who would send this? And why today, exactly 1 year after I'd started building my dream? I'm James Rodriguez, and last spring, I spent my life savings on 5 acres in Willow Creek Estates. After working 30 years as an agricultural engineer, I finally had enough money to start my own vineyard. My new property sat away from most houses, with a small creek running alongside it, exactly what my special grapevines needed to grow properly. You're going to love it here, my realtor Sam had promised with a big smile. Asterisk, the HOA mostly leaves these outer properties alone. Asterisk. I believed him. I signed all the papers without reading every single word. That was my first mistake. For 6 long months, I woke up at sunrise and worked until my hands blistered and my back ached. I planted 200 baby grapevines in perfect rows. I built a watering system that reached every plant. I even started building a small tasting room where future customers could try my wine. My closest neighbor Eleanor lived in the blue house next door. She was a retired judge who often brought me cold lemonade while I worked in the hot sun. "Your vineyard is going to be amazing, James," she told me one evening as we sat on my porch. The setting sun made my rows of small green vines glow golden. Asterisk, but I should warn you about Margaret Thornton. Asterisk. I stopped sipping my lemonade. Asterisk, who's that? Asterisk. Our new HOA president, Eleanor said, lowering her voice even though nobody else was around. Asterisk. I've seen her walking around your property taking pictures. She brings different people with fancy suits and clipboards. They point at your land and draw things on maps. Asterisk. I laughed it off. Asterisk, maybe she's just interested in wine. Asterisk. Eleanor didn't smile back. Asterisk, Margaret doesn't care about wine. She cares about power and money. And for some reason, she's very interested in your land. Asterisk. I should have taken Eleanor's warning more seriously. But I was too busy dreaming about my first grape harvest to worry about some nosy neighbor. Now, staring at this mysterious warning letter, I remembered something odd from yesterday. While trimming my vines, I spotted Margaret standing at the edge of my property with 3 men in business suits. They had rolled up papers and kept pointing toward the creek. When they noticed me watching, they quickly left. I grabbed my phone to call Eleanor, but before I could dial, another paper caught my eye. It had been slipped under my door. An official notice from the Willow Creek HOA for an emergency meeting tomorrow morning. My hands trembled as I picked up the mysterious warning letter again. At the bottom, in smaller print, it said, Asterisk, check the original property maps at the county office. Your deed contains protection they don't want you to know about. Asterisk. I had no idea who sent it, but a cold feeling spread through my stomach. What protection? What were they planning to do with my land? I grabbed my truck keys. The county office closed in 1 hour, and I suddenly felt like every minute mattered. As I backed out of my driveway, I noticed Margaret's sleek black car parked across the street. She was watching my house, phone pressed to her ear, eyes narrowing as I drove past. Finger, my husband is handling all the paperwork. There's simply been a miscommunication. The sheriff turned to the construction workers. Until I see proper permits, all work stops immediately. Pack up your equipment and leave the property. The men seemed relieved as they quickly gathered their tools. Margaret watched in silent fury as they drove away. Sheriff Davis approached me. Mr. Rodriguez, I recommend you get a lawyer fast. This isn't over. He was right. Just as he walked back to his cruiser, Margaret's phone rang again. This time she answered it, stepping away for privacy, but her voice carried in the quiet morning air. Don't worry, Richard, she said urgently. It's just a minor setback. Get Judge Wilson on the phone. Yes, I know what time it is. Tell him we need that emergency injunction today, not tomorrow. Because this stubborn old man knows about the watershed protection. No, I don't know how he found out, but he has help. She glanced back at Eleanor and me with pure hatred in her eyes. Don't worry, she continued into the phone. I know exactly how to handle this. Start the paperwork for eminent domain. Blood money, I shouted, slamming my fist down on Eleanor's dining room table. The property documents jumped an inch off the surface. They're destroying my dream for blood money. Eleanor didn't flinch. She calmly adjusted her reading glasses and continued examining my paperwork with the precision of her former judge days. Her living room had transformed into a war room. Maps, deeds, and HOA bylaws covered every surface. James, getting angry won't save your vines, she said firmly. What we need is ammunition, legal ammunition. I collapsed into a chair, the image of those bulldozers crushing my precious vines still fresh in my mind. 30 vines destroyed already. Do you know what that means? 5 years of growth, Eleanor. 5 years I can't get back. Look at this, Eleanor said suddenly, her finger landing on a passage buried deep in my property documents. Your land was rezoned agricultural before you bought it. Did your realtor mention this? I shook my head. No. What does that mean for us? A smile crept across Eleanor's face, the first I'd seen since the bulldozers arrived. It means Margaret screwed up. Agricultural land follows different easement rules than residential properties. They can't just bulldoze through it for a road without special permits. My spirits lifted slightly. Can we use that to stop them? That's just the beginning, Eleanor said, pulling another document from the stack. According to the original survey, your property line extends 12 feet further than what's in the HOA records. Those machines are trespassing even deeper into your land than Margaret realizes. Just as hope began to flicker, Eleanor's phone rang. Her expression darkened as she listened, occasionally muttering, I see, and, are you certain? When she hung up, her face was grim. That was Tom Jenkins from the community board, she said in a low voice. He's been doing some digging too. Turns out Margaret's husband owns Thornton Construction, the company that mysteriously won the no-bid contract to build this road. I frowned. That sounds like a conflict of interest. It gets worse, Eleanor continued. Guess who recently purchased 6 acres directly across from the state park entrance? Right where this new road would lead? My jaw dropped as realization hit. Margaret. Bingo. She bought it through a shell company called Thoron Investments. According to Tom, preliminary plans for a boutique shopping village were quietly submitted to the county last month. I stood up, pacing the room. So this isn't about community access at all. It's about creating a direct route to their commercial property, using HOA funds to build infrastructure that will make them millions. Eleanor nodded. Classic self-dealing. My hands trembled, but this time with determination rather than fear. We have to stop them. I already made some calls, Eleanor said, picking up her phone again. My friend Rachel is organizing neighbors for a meeting tonight. People should know what their HOA fees are really funding. The doorbell rang. Eleanor returned moments later with Rachel, a younger woman with fierce eyes and a laptop bag. I've been tracking Margaret's board manipulations for years, Rachel explained, spreading printouts on the table. Look at these meeting minutes. Every major decision happens when most owners are away for summer or winter holidays. Votes scheduled at 2 p.m. on workdays. Minimal notice. It's all technically legal but deliberately exclusionary. Over the next hour, more neighbors arrived. By sunset, Eleanor's living room held 15 angry homeowners listening to our findings. Their shock turned to outrage as we laid out Margaret's scheme. My parents own vineyards in Sonoma, said David, a retired teacher. What she's doing to your grapes, James, it's like destroying a piece of history before it can even grow. They raised our HOA fees 3 times in 2 years, added Maria, a young mother. Now we know where that money's going. As the group brainstormed actions, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I stepped outside to answer. Mr. Rodriguez, this is Diane Lewis from the county permit office. I processed the easement paperwork for your property this morning. My heart sank. So it's official then? Not exactly, she whispered. Something felt off about the rush approval. I've been with the county 20 years and know when corners are being cut. The environmental impact report is questionable. What do you mean? The report claims there are no water features on your property, but I hiked through that area last spring. There's a seasonal creek that feeds into the watershed. I gripped the phone tighter. There is. It runs along the eastern edge. That creek requires a separate EPA review that was never completed, she said. I can't officially flag it without risking my job, but if someone were to request the watershed maps from 1967. I understand, I said, my mind racing. Thank you. When I returned inside, Eleanor was already organizing teams, some to research county records, others to contact environmental groups, and a few to guard my vines overnight. James, she said, pulling me aside. Tom just texted. The paving equipment is scheduled to arrive tomorrow afternoon. We're running out of time. My face must have shown my despair because Eleanor gripped my shoulders firmly. Listen to me. I didn't spend 30 years upholding the law to watch it get trampled by greedy bullies. We're going to fight, and we're going to win. As I looked around at my newfound allies, a strange calm settled over me. You know what my father used to say about grapevines? They survive through the harshest conditions because their roots grow deep, finding water where nothing else can. Eleanor smiled. Then let's dig deep, James. Tomorrow we visit the county records office. My old clerk friend Hector still works there, and he owes me more than one favor. What none of us knew was that Margaret had informants everywhere, including in Eleanor's living room. As we prepared for tomorrow's battle, she was already working to ensure those records would never see the light of day. Is Kate Johnson? I work for Thornton Construction. I nearly swerved off the road. How did you get this number? That doesn't matter, she replied, her voice shaking. What matters is I know what they're doing to your vineyard, and I have the original environmental reports that Margaret ordered destroyed. Why would you help me? I asked, suspicious. Because, she said, that watershed they're about to pave over feeds directly into our town's drinking water supply. Lightning flashed across the sky as I processed this information. The stakes had just gotten much higher than my vineyard. Tomorrow's confrontation wouldn't just be about saving my grapes. It might be about saving the entire community's water supply. I stood at my property line in the early light, legs shaking but face calm. My vineyard's future hung in the balance. 3 massive yellow paving trucks growled at the edge of my land, ready to crush more of my precious vines. Behind me, 20 neighbors formed a human wall, ordinary people in bathrobes and work clothes who'd answered Eleanor's midnight calls for help. They won't dare run us over, Eleanor whispered, but her voice wavered. A black luxury SUV screeched to a halt in a cloud of dust. Margaret Thornton emerged, her designer heels sinking into the soft dirt of my vineyard. What is this ridiculous circus? She shouted, marching toward me with a speed that defied her tight pencil skirt. Move these people immediately, or I'm calling the sheriff. I felt a strange calm wash over me as I held out a thick manila envelope. Please do call him. In fact, he should be arriving any minute, along with officials from the EPA and State Water Board. The confidence on Margaret's face flickered as she snatched the envelope. What nonsense is this? An emergency injunction signed by Judge Caldwell at midnight, I replied. It orders all construction to stop until a full environmental review is conducted. Margaret's perfectly manicured fingers trembled as she flipped through the papers. This is absurd. We have all necessary approvals. Forged approvals, called a voice from the crowd. Tom from the community board stepped forward, his face ashen but determined. I've submitted my resignation this morning, along with evidence that board members were pressured and bribed to approve this road without proper procedure. A ripple of shocked whispers spread through the crowd. Margaret's face contorted with fury. You have absolutely no idea who you're dealing with, she hissed. My husband is currently answering questions about why protected watershed records mysteriously disappeared when the county digitized their files. Eleanor finished, stepping to my side. Records that he was in charge of preserving. Quite the coincidence, isn't it? Margaret's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for water. Behind us, phones recorded every second of her unraveling. You think you're so clever, she spat. One little water map won't stop progress. Do you know how many judges and officials attend our dinner parties? This road is happening, Rodriguez. As if summoned by her words, 3 vehicles appeared on the horizon. A sheriff's cruiser, a van marked environmental protection, and a local news truck with a satellite dish on top. Looks like we're about to have quite the party ourselves, I said quietly. Margaret's composure shattered completely. This is a temporary setback. You have no idea the connections we have in this county. By the time we're done, your precious grapes will be nothing but a memory. She jabbed a finger so close to my face I could smell her expensive perfume. Nobody crosses the Thorntons. Nobody. A young reporter jumped from the news van, cameraman in tow, capturing Margaret's threat in high definition. Her eyes widened as she realized her mistake. "Miss Thornton," called the reporter, Channel 8 News. "Can you explain why you're threatening a local farmer over a disputed road project?" Margaret spun around, nearly tripping as she retreated to her SUV. The construction crew, seeing the official vehicles, began backing their equipment away from my property line. Eleanor squeezed my arm as we watched Margaret peel away, her tires spraying gravel. "We won the battle today," she whispered. "But Margaret's right about one thing." "What's that?" I asked, suddenly exhausted as the adrenaline drained from my body. "This war is just beginning," Eleanor said grimly. "The Thorntons control half this county. They'll find another way to get what they want." The sheriff approached, nodding respectfully to Eleanor. "Judge Hampton," he acknowledged. "Quite a situation you've got here." "Sheriff Davis," she replied. "You're just in time to enforce a federal injunction." As they talked, I surveyed my damaged vineyard. Trenches cut through my irrigation system, young vines uprooted and withering in the sun. A small victory. But at what cost? And how long could we hold out against people who changed the rules whenever they wanted? The reporter approached, microphone extended. "Sir, would you share your story with our viewers? How does it feel to stand up to the most powerful family in Willow Creek?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "You'll regret this. Everyone has secrets. Even former judges, asterisk asterisk." I glanced at Eleanor, deep in conversation with the sheriff. What didn't I know about my only ally? And what would Margaret Thornton do next?